Welcome back. It's the second hour and it's Friday. Get excited, folks. Earlier we were looking at maps. Well, guess what? We have more maps today. This one is reefer rejection rates by region. And Donny, it looks like compared to the other parts of the country where we saw the West Coast doing better for dry van, Southeast, reefer king.
Yeah, so we see a lot of red, so being negative for the week-over-week changes, or neutral for reefer on the West Coast. A little bit down in the Southwest, pretty well neutral here in the Midwest, but the Southeast just barely. I mean, we're talking 0.02. So pretty much it's neutral as well. And of course, the Northeast is negative. So I like using regional just to see what regions are peaking. I use it both for the week-to-week change and the actuals. So this is the week-over-week changes. The South has picked up maybe just a little bit. If I don't use regional, I showed y'all you could use state. I'm not big on the states because Western Tennessee could be operating different than Eastern Tennessee. Got that backwards there. Or North Georgia versus South Georgia. They can all be operating totally different. That's why we break it down by markets as well. So if we're not using regions, go ahead and move me over here. I like to use the actual markets. So looking at the Southeast, you see a lot of these blues are in Florida down here. So rejection rates were picking up slightly in Florida. Atlanta, the big one, holding neutral there, not really much change at all there, maybe a little bit negative. And then of course in Tennessee, you see a little bit of blue, as well as South Carolina and North Carolina. So you see the subtle changes on a market basis here. Looks like Dallas, Fort Worth, picking up some rejection rates there, picking up week over week in Texas here. So that's a positive sign. Memphis down just a little bit. And of course, Chicago, Joliet holding neutral. But this is Rockford. When you look at Rockford for dry van the other day, Rockford looks pretty decent here for reefer as well. So you might want to go in and run some lanes for just dry van and reefer out of Rockford, Illinois to see if we show some changes on the reefer side as well. Southern California, on markets here, they're actually picking up, some of them are picking up just a little bit, but again, watch your scale because the first shade of blue is actually negative 0.27. So we're going to have some that are up just a little bit and some that are actually negative.
We want to look at those dark blues. And I think it's fascinating because a lot of the challenges for carriers is what do you do in this market? Specialization is important. I spoke with some folks who did open deck, flatbed. And so you'll almost see a situation where for reefer, rejection rates were around between 7 and 8%, still healthy enough, but that could be the key difference to sticking it out. And because a reefer can also run dry van, but around I like 42,000. Now some will say 42.5. I've never met a reefer that's put 42.5 in the box. That's something to watch.
Reefers are a little bit heavier. Number one, they got the unit on the front. Yeah. They got a fuel tank underneath. The floors are aluminum instead of wood. And if you actually put a reefer trailer beside a dry van trailer, they're a few inches taller too.
Now, that's one thing I always forgot about because in addition, if you're thinking like hauling foods, especially during the winter time, we may also be seeing more reefer demand because freeze protect. So you think a reefer trailer needs to keep it colder, but in this instance, it maybe just needs to be warm enough to not freeze. I think glue, like Shaw out of South Carolina does carpet glues and sometimes they need reefers. Paints, yeah.
They have paints. I ran paint out of Salt Lake City, going back to Southern California. But and then you still got your water, your soft drinks. Beer can't freeze because they can blow through the cans or ruin the product. The syrups for soft drinks can't freeze. So anyways. That's what is going on here a lot in the reefer markets. Keep an eye on these to see what's changing. And that's the biggest point of Sonar. These companies need to see when markets are changing. Otherwise, if they don't react, they could either lose loads or fail to increase their revenues.
Yeah, or you could be keeping an underperforming carrier as well in a situation where they're rejecting more. You sometimes just need to benchmark it.
Yeah. Headhaul index, one of my favorite ones. Run to the blue. So these show you the markets that are overbooked, meaning that there are more loads than there's more outbound loads than there are inbound trucks. Now, the problem with right now is you look at Southern California, yes, LAX overbooked, but it's surrounded by red. So it's going to attract, you're going to have trucks deadheading in. We don't count deadhead in our numbers here, but you want to see them over 25. But understand we're going to see them deadhead in those markets. Deadhead into Dallas as well.
But look at Atlanta,
Atlanta.
because you see Savannah and the surrounding markets. I think that's a big one to keep an eye on, because we see these positive indicators, but then you're looking at Atlanta compared to like a Memphis. That's you typically would assume.
I would probably choose Savannah over Atlanta right now since it's red. But look at these markets, analyze and figure out what's going on, run some pricing, and you'll figure out where to run your trucks. But simply just going to the blues is going to give you more opportunities to keep your trucks moving. We're not talking about better rates, just better opportunities to keep your trucks moving, and that's what these big guys need to keep doing right now.
Exactly. Either ride or die or keep rolling to survive, folks. You may not be rolling, but the truck payment keeps coming. That's a wrap for this Care Update. One more coming up in the program, but for now, let's toss it over to Kaylee and Anthony.